France, 1760. The Wonder Man of Europe runs for his life. No records exist of his birth, death, or true identity. He was considered a genius in art, music, politics, and alchemy. Although he looked 40, many believed he was at least 150 years old. He called himself the Count of Saint-Germain. Others called him the man who would not die. The court at Versailles in 1757 rides the last great crest of regal splendor before the French Revolution. Embroiled in a bitter war with England, King Louis XV still plays host to the leading thinkers and doers of Europe. The Count of Saint-Germain is welcomed as a man of wealth and obvious breeding. A brilliant violinist, he conducts entire symphonies without referring to written music. He is also a talented painter, and his descriptions of ancient history cause listeners to believe that he experienced the events himself. In recreations based on actual memoirs, Saint-Germain fascinates the elite of France, including Voltaire, Madame Pompadour, and especially King Louis.
I liked and admired the man. In his way, he was brilliant, a scientist and a historian. He amused and astounded me. Why, once he removed a large flaw from this very beautiful diamond and tripled its worth. I set him up in a laboratory at the Trianon. He used to teach me chemistry. He even said I had a natural aptitude for it.
During years spent in India, Saint-Germain supposedly learned how to remove flaws from diamonds and change base metals to gold. It was written that he performed both feats often enough to dissuade doubters. Skilled as a chemist, it was also rumored that he possessed a magic elixir of life. Saint-Germain neither confirmed nor denied anything said about him. How old was he? 100? 200? 2,000 years? He either smiled or responded with cheerful evasiveness. He spoke at least a dozen languages so fluently that in any country he visited, he was accepted as a native. But where was he actually from? Portugal? Egypt? Atlantis? The fog-shrouded Carpathian mountains of Transylvania have hidden many legendary figures. One might have been Saint-Germain as a small boy. When Prince Franz Rákóczi lost control of Hungary, his two older sons were placed under house arrest in Vienna. His third son, possibly Saint-Germain, traveled secretly from Transylvania to Florence and the protection of the House of Medici. If this story, one of so many, is true, it would explain Saint-Germain's extraordinary education and appreciation of fine art. According to memoirs, the Count was slim, well-proportioned, and of medium height. His features were pleasant, and his eyes possessed a great fascination. Those who looked into them were profoundly influenced. His sense of humor and courtly manner made him especially attractive to women. Among them, King Louis's mistress, Madame Pompadour.
He was a truly delightful person, and he knew all of the European languages. And he was very entertaining. The king, you know, is easily bored, but never by Saint-Germain. And yet there was a mystery to him. Nobody knew where he came from or his true identity. And there was a strangeness. Some of my very elderly friends at court said they had known him for 50 years, and yet he never seemed to age. If he had a magic elixir of life, I wish he had given some to me.
Casanova, the Italian opportunist, resented his rival's success.
Saint-Germain is a charlatan and an impostor. He thinks he's a prodigy in everything. Oh, he's very clever. And with his tricks, he has the capability to amuse. He can make the women admire him. But then, I know something of the ladies myself. One very mysterious thing. In all of the banquets we have attended together, I have never seen him eat one morsel of food.
While his peers gorged at banquets, Saint-Germain dined alone on light portions of cereal, vegetables, and the white meat of chicken. Was this his secret for long life? Small, balanced meals? Voltaire, France's aging intellectual, expressed great admiration for Saint-Germain.
He is a very learned man and a Freemason. His knowledge of history is so extraordinary, it makes one believe he lived through the events himself. One could believe it would take more than one lifetime to absorb so much knowledge. Thus, the man must be immortal.
He was so knowledgeable in politics and history that I used to send him on secret missions to make peace with England, but that was my mistake. I went over the head of my foreign minister, who naturally was furious. Of course, I had to pretend that I knew nothing of the affair. Choiseul was going to arrest him, but he escaped and disappeared.
Envious of Saint-Germain's influence on the king, Choiseul, Louis's foreign minister, ordered him arrested and shot as an English spy. Choiseul circulated vicious rumors throughout Europe, claiming that Saint-Germain was a Portuguese of questionable parentage who married for money in Mexico and absconded to Turkey with his wife's jewels. Saint-Germain escaped to the English Channel and crossed safely to London. However, Choiseul's ugly stories followed him wherever he wandered, even to Russia. In St. Petersburg, Saint-Germain joined a conspiracy to overthrow Tsar Peter in 1762. Battlefield strategies brought victory to the forces of Catherine the Great. Once enthroned, the new queen rewarded him with the title General Well Done. The legend of the brilliant count preceded him to the distinguished courts and drawing rooms of Europe. Wherever he traveled, Saint-Germain was welcomed as a scholar, a scientist, and raconteur. Most of his activities were shrouded in mystery, but it is known that he formed secret societies dealing with the occult and warned the crowned heads of many nations that the collapse of the French monarchy would eventually doom them as well. His one known manuscript, the Most Holy Trinisophia, written in a combination of modern languages and ancient hieroglyphics, is considered a classic of occult literature. The final years of Saint-Germain's known life were spent in Hesse-Kassel, Germany. He divided his time between experiments in alchemy and meetings of his secret societies. Few people knew Saint-Germain as well as Prince Charles, his last known confidant and benefactor. In 1784, word spread across Europe that Saint-Germain lay mortally ill in the castle of Prince Charles.
I was privileged to be a very good friend of Saint-Germain. In fact, he spent his last years here in this very castle. Some time before he died, he confided in me his true identity. He was the third son of Prince Franz Leopold Rákóczi of Transylvania. When the Austro-Hungarian Empire absorbed his enormous estates, he spirited his third son away to Italy, where he was looked after and brought up by the Medici family and attended the University of Siena. This, of course, was one of the reasons for his very charming demeanor, his aristocratic bearing, his wealth, and his great knowledge. Unfortunately, he died here in this castle.
Did Prince Charles attend the funeral?
No. Now you come to mention it, I didn't. I was away at the time.
There are no records of Saint-Germain's burial. 10 years later, he was sighted in Paris at the height of the French Revolution. Sightings continued well into the 19th century, and for some, continued today. Elizabeth Clare Prophet, leader of the Church Universal and Triumphant in Pasadena, California, believes that Saint-Germain speaks to the world through her.
Who was Saint-Germain is really a very important question for America and for freedom-loving peoples in every nation today. Saint-Germain has embodied again and again over many centuries, as we all have. Our souls continue to evolve and to experience on earth until we perfect our own individual calling. Back in the days of Atlantis, Saint-Germain figures as a priest after the order of Melchizedek. He was tending the flame of freedom in an ancient temple. Word came to him from his teacher that the continent would sink, and he was told to travel from the continent by ship to go to Europe in what is now the area of Transylvania, in the Transylvanian foothills, to plant the flame of freedom. Transylvania was in Hungary and is now in Romania. Saint-Germain did this, and the placing of that flame of freedom there was the beginning of the House of Rákóczi, the royal house of Hungary.
According to Mrs. Prophet, this is just the beginning of a series of fantastic lives. Elizabeth Clare Prophet believes that Saint-Germain has appeared on earth at key moments in history.
After the ascension of Jesus Christ, Joseph of Arimathea traveled by ship to the British Isles with the cup used at the Last Supper. That cup became the spiritual force field for the Knights of the Round Table, the coming of Arthur. In that episode, Saint-Germain incarnated as Merlin the magician. Again, the alchemist, again, the great prophet and seer, the spiritual power behind the throne. He gives the vision to Camelot. And so that focus in England begins the opportunity for Saint-Germain to bring the teachings of Christ to the New World. And so he incarnates as none other than Christopher Columbus. The master Saint-Germain arrived at the New World at San Salvador, very near the ancient retreat of Atlantis, which had sunk when Atlantis went down 12,000 years earlier. Saint-Germain then ascended, and he went forth as the immortal, very closely connected with the courts of Europe. A book has been written about him based on the diaries of Madame d'Adhémar. And this book contains the record of the Wonder Man of Europe as he appeared and disappeared throughout the courts of Europe over a period continuously over 200 years. He astonished those around him. He appeared youthful. He wore diamonds on every finger. He precipitated jewels. But his main mission was to warn the heads of state of the coming cataclysm that ensued in the French Revolution. All that he predicted came to pass, still having